the third episode of Paid Speaker Visibility Live. I am Ekua Cant. I am on a mission to help 1 million diverse speakers get paid to speak by 2030. And I'm super excited to have Sandra here as my guest today. Sandra, tell us about what you do and what you talk about.
I work within the educational sector for an independent training provider as head of quality and curriculum. But aside from that, my passion is to help people of colour, Black or Asian, address the issues that they find themselves in as members of staff or maybe a student in further education sectors and establishments. So it's about educating the senior management, governors and staff of how they can approach things like microaggressions, the things that they go, oh, it's only banter, oh, it's only this. But really and truly, it's just cut deep into the core of that individual that's receiving it, and show them how that they can change that culture and educate that and give positive reinforcement for that change and sustainable change. It's not about ticking a tick box for DEI, diversity, equity and inclusion, but it's about taking it further.
No,
and that's what I want to do.
Oh, amazing. Thanks, Sandra. And I think that you've opened with a very strong point about the fact that, you know, what some people fail to recognize is that words do hurt. And even as, you know, an adult, young person, or whatever age you are, you know, someone trivializing or minimizing something that is potentially harmful to somebody else isn't them really understanding that these issues are alive and that they need to be dealt with and addressed. Obviously, they are, you know, can be difficult issues to deal with, but nonetheless, we still need to validate these concerns and then be, you know, working towards the work you're doing to help from both sides, you know, people who are receiving these kinds of treatments and issues to be able to speak up and voice their concerns. And likewise, if people are witnessing and bystanding, how they can actually proactively, you know, change their behaviors, be an ally, and all those kinds of things. So as I just talked about that kind of issue, Sandra, I'd love to hear from you. Like, you know, what do you think that allies and those who aren't from that background can do to make a more inclusive space for either students or colleagues in the workplace?
To call it out when they hear it, because it's not just the person receiving it hears it, those around that aren't, you know, they'll hear the perpetrator say what they say, but they will possibly or turn to the side or just blank it out for that moment because they don't know how to address it. But then to enable allies to say, hey, hang on a minute, that's not right. You can't say that. And then rather than the person getting affronted that's receiving that, you can't say that, they go, oh, what did I say that was wrong maybe? You know, maybe they don't realise that what they're saying has impacted more than just the person that's receiving it. And that's the education that's taking place. And that's just the start of it. It's great having allies, but it's also about how the allies turn up at the point of whatever they've just heard. Do they actually call it out? Do they turn aside for fear or retribution? Because, you know, who are you to say that? You know, because you just don't know how those that are perpetrating this talk are going to act. So it's a three-pronged approach. You know, it's the person that's receiving, the person that's doing, and those that are like bystanders. And attacking, addressing and tackling each of those and bringing them together as one to move forward.
And why would you say that, especially now in the international climate that we're in, that it's really important for this topic to be talked about and for solutions to be put forward. What are you hearing in your, market, in your area of expertise, the colleagues that you work with, the conferences that you're seeing out there? Why is it important now to address this issue?
I think it's something that's been tried to be addressed for years. I've been in the education system for 30 years easily. And in that time, I've been a governor at a secondary school, governor at a college, worked in further education sector, and now I'm in an independent training provider sector. So I'm seeing this systemic voice. It's like being on a hamster wheel. It's forever going around and round, the same old, same old. And it's about time somebody stopped that wheel and say, I want to get off. It's about someone helping others to stop the wheel. I liken it unto, say, the old school roundabouts that used to go around, and you'd have one person spinning it, and the person that's on it's here holding on for dear life and going, I want to get off. But they can't get off because they don't know how to. There may be senior leaders maybe listening to this that think, hang on, I think that might be happening in our organisation. How do I deal with this? They can use me to bring.
And how is it that you assist them and help them? Like, what outcomes do you help to bring? What change do you help them? Because obviously they might think, for example, Sandra, and I know we've discussed this before, but let's just remind everyone because they may not have heard this. I might think as a senior leader in a FE environment, or in that sort of a field, that having a policy is the way to actually move forward, and that's the way to demonstrate that we are active as a senior leadership team in tackling unconscious bias, discrimination, all the items in the workplace. But can you tell me why that might not necessarily be an active, way to tackle it, in your opinion?
In my opinion, it might not be the active way to, because it's paper. It's a written strategy. It's something that's going, okay, we aim to do this, this, and this. But do you actually do it? So it's about changing that concept from just being a paper to making it live, making KPIs that can actually be tracked, audited, and having that golden thread of evidence going through. And then the receiving end is those that are impacted, being able to create positive testimonials of how things have changed for them within that organisation. So it's about bringing that educational aspect to it.
And can you give us one example of how you might be implement a proactive solution?
One could be through having staff networks.
Yes.
And actually a listening voice, an active listening voice. Creating that listening voice for change. So that's one way to do that. Not having it as oh gosh, they're going to beat us up with this, that, and the other. No, having an active voice and wanting to change as an organisation and realising the need for change.
Absolutely. And sticking with this idea of the employee networks and resource groups, in your opinion, do you think that it's best that it's solely the organisation of those who want to make change, or also allies should be included within the makeup? How do you think, what's the best structure in your opinion?
It needs the two-pronged approach. It needs the allies and it needs those that want the change. Those that want the change need to have a safe space to be able to talk about their lived experiences. Allies may have been there with them through those lived experiences, need to speak up so that senior management can say, hey, there is a problem here that we need to address, and address it quickly. There are many aspects, there's the aspect of students being able to see people like themselves actually in position of leadership, teaching. You know, that the organisation needs to address their ratios. You know, I've recently talked to a college who's got over 50% Black, Asian, minority ethnic people as staff members. That's an amazing number. And that's what it should be, because there'd be others that maybe only have 1 or 2 representatives. I myself came from the fact of I was the only Black person at the level that I was within the organisation. There's no, you just can't compare what that feels like to be the only one. So there's all of those aspects that can be looked at, and through my lived experiences. And also, I forgot to say that I was also chair of a race network for a few years. So I've got multi-pronged approach to looking at this. It's not just one-sided. From senior management level straight through to being a member of staff and also as a student. So there's all those aspects to bring into making that change.
Fantastic. And so, Sandra, if people are interested, what kind of talks do you do? Is it workshops? Is it straight talks? What kind of experience can they expect from you?
Well, I'd like to think there could be the quick lunch and learn type aspect to it. Also, half-day workshops, full-day workshops, multiple session work, like a course type study program, because change isn't going to happen overnight. It's going to take time to make it effective and bring the efficiencies that will create from people feel a sense of belonging, and that the organisation is actually making waves to change. We used to call it move the dial. So are the organisations at this time in 2026 ready to move that dial?
Well, and beyond.
And beyond.
This year,
absolutely. This is just the start of it. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So a final question in this segment is, so which kinds of organizations are you keen to work with? So is it colleges? Is it training providers? Give us a sense so people know if that's them and they want to put their hand up and get in touch with you.
Well, I believe anybody that's classed as being in further education, it's not about higher education or schools as such. It's about further education, like colleges, maybe sixth form colleges, that aspect of things where people are in adulthood and still in learning. Because the lived experience of those that are still receiving those nuances of microaggressions and conscious biases, and they can share their lived experiences, so those coming up behind them will have a changed experience.
Fantastic. So Sandra, I would like us to be on a little bit to the Space Speaker Visibility Challenge, which you were on with me recently. But before that, I'd like you to tell everyone about the fact that we are actually both working together. You are one of my amazing VIP clients. I'd like you to tell everyone about your first interaction with me at the stage day that you had, and then talk about your experience in the challenge.
Okay, the last year I took part in a live stage performance. I say performance because it is like a performance, isn't it, when you stood on stage? But in that, I called it #boldness uncovered, because it uncovered it got rid of that imposter syndrome of thinking, yes, I have a voice, but does anybody want to hear it? I have a voice, I have experience, I have lived experience, I have specialisms, and I have got something to share, something I know that will benefit others. So in that live performance last year, it enabled me to have a voice. enabled me to say, I am here, I can help you, I can speak to you about this thing that goes unspoken about a lot of times, unconscious bias. And that's just one aspect of one of those microaggressions. People don't want to address them, but those microaggressions could be macroaggressions for some others. But that's what that talk did for me. It made me realise, yes, you have a voice. It's time that my voice be heard. There are people in the FE sector that may have known of me previously in the different roles that I had, but now to see me in this role will be new for them, new for me as well. So that gave me the stage to be visible. Then that leads directly into this 7-day challenge, which gave me another opportunity to be visible again. In that 7 days of being on LinkedIn. So I went from 0, you see those growth charts that go up and down like this, but no, this went like this, like if I was soaring. And in that visibility, I realized how much more impact my voice could have in the spoken word, as in now we're talking here live in this visual world. So yes, this is an opportunity for me to stay visible. That 7-day challenge gave me the opportunity for more boldness to be uncovered. So instead of just liking other people's posts, I was creating posts. And in that creating brought on, I never knew about all the analytics. I never looked at them before, but now I'm looking and seeing them grow, seeing the impressions. So people are looking at what I'm saying. I've even started commenting on other people's posts, apart from your own, other people's posts. So that boldness uncovered has happened yet again for me through this 7-day challenge. I would say anybody who might be cowering on the sidelines, take up the challenge. Be visible. You have got a voice. You have got something to share.
No, I definitely agree. And you've touched on some really great points. And so, sticking with the challenge for the moment, like, how did you stay committed? Because as we know, like, every day you weren't always ready, or what things happened. Like, what made you be committed? Because I think a lot of people think, oh yeah, I'm going to do it, and then they're like, well, I can't be bothered, or like, I don't feel like it.
Starting the year with purpose. Starting the year wanting to make a change for me. Starting the year wanting to make a change for others. I can't make the change in the background because nobody will know that it's me working in the background.
Yeah.
I had to be visible. And in that, when you put that challenge up, and I like to rise to a bit of a challenge as well. And it gives you that impetus to go, I can do this. So I think that's what it was. It was about the challenge, the change, and that impetus to actually go, yes. And every day I put a post up, it was like, oh, I did that. So it's a growth thing as well, being visible. It brings out something within that might have been dormant. So as much as, yes, I have a voice, I've always had a voice in the sectors that I was working in, but now that visibility comes with the voice. And in that can create change for others.
Yes, no, absolutely. And so, what did you find was most difficult, and what do you think was your biggest win from the challenge?
The most difficult thing was, what do I say? Is somebody going to want to hear what I've got to say in the spoken word, in the written word?
Mm.
And I was like, okay, what do I write? What do I write? Umming and ahhing. And then in the end, I went, just write. Stop, doubting. I think self-doubt, that you can actually do that. Stop doubting self when you know that you have the ability to do. So it's a self-awareness thing as well that goes on. A bit of emotional intelligence in self and putting yourself out there. So that was the hardest thing to do. The biggest win, well, there were a couple of big wins, actually. Having someone actually comment instead of just liking. Having someone comment on something you've written was also good to see. And the other win was having somebody direct message me to say they wanted to work further with me. So there is that opportunity out there to work with people. That person that direct messaged me made that clear. So for anybody that's listening to this, hopefully what I've said today will make it clear that there are ways to change. And it's not about beating anyone up. It's about educating. And further education is about education. Lifelong learning. It's taking learning beyond that school environment, beyond that student environment as a maybe 16 to 24-year-old and beyond. And making that experience good for everyone. That there shouldn't be fear. Fear of what somebody's going to say to you, fear about being a person of colour, because they see your colour before they see who you are as an individual. So, let's just get the narrative out there, get the change going on, and we'll all benefit, organisation and individuals alike.
No, I definitely agree. And one thing I did want to ask you is around, rules and regulations in your sector. Have any new rules come in which you think could be helpful in terms of making it more inclusive, equitable, and people systemically working towards that change of rooting out some of these isms and biases?
Well, I think the biggest rules and regulations will come through Ofsted. From Department of Education and Ofsted. So in that, the new Ofsted toolkit is out from November of last year, and every further education establishment has got to work to those new rules. And in that, inclusion has become a key element. You can't be inclusive if you're missing out parts of the diversity, equity, and inclusion. So it's about being equitable. It's about the belonging to create that inclusion. So if you've got aspects of that missing as an organisation, we can work on that together.
Amazing.
So that I have actually been helping a couple of organisations set up their preparation for Ofsted. So that is, as I say, the nuance and legalities that are going on behind the scenes that I can help with also.
Yes. And so let's just remind everyone again, what's your speaking topic and how can you help them, be more inclusive within your sector?
It's about unconscious bias, microaggressions, and how they come about, how they're systemic within an organisation, and what they do for individuals, what they're keeping the organisation bound in, a culture that hasn't changed, that hamster wheel. So it's about making that be known, but not in a destructive way, but in an educational way that can bring about change and impact change.
And if people were really, wanting to carry on further conversations with you, what's the best way for them to contact you?
They can direct message me through LinkedIn, as they say, DM me. See, I'm getting in the lingo now.
Yeah.
And through that, we can have further conversations and create a bespoke program for them.
Okay. And the final question I've got is, do you have any particular stages that you're thinking about for this year?
Oh, it would be exciting to do another stand-up stage performance like I did last year with you. Doesn't have to be TEDx or anything like that, you know, just within a spectrum. That could be a conference, it could be a keynote speaker, or it could be just with staff, leadership teams, and bringing about the change within the organisation, baby steps for them to cultivate change.
Yeah, so you're saying workshops, keynotes,
Absolutely.
panels, conferences within the sector.
I've done a podcast before. Oh, actually, I've done a couple of podcasts before.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's quite a plethora of platforms out there that could be used for this sort of information sharing. And I'm willing to be a part of that.
Definitely, definitely. So you've heard it here. You know, Sandra is open to opportunities and collaborations, whether they be virtual or in person. Please definitely do get in touch with Sandra. But Sandra, before we close up this live, I'd like to for you to give everyone, you know, why should they decide to be consistently and actively visible? How does it pay, and why does it pay?
It pays because you're, from the first post, you're visible. And the more you post, the more visible you are. The posts that I posted 2 weeks ago are still being looked at now.
There you go, yeah.
And I'm going to start posting again. I'm preparing now and scheduling my posts so that just shows how much I've grown.
Yes.
It's about growth. It's about change. And it's about nurturing that change. So I'm nurturing the visibility aspect of me.
Oh, that is brilliant, Sandra. Well, thanks so much. Yes. And as Sandra says, it's not about perfection. It's about growth. It's about courage, you know, and it's about, you know, finding like-minded people, because we had a community, which is really great. Everyone was supporting and cheering each other. What did you find about in terms of our community, Sandra? How did you feel it helped you?
We're all on the same journey, but the different strokes within that journey. And in that, everybody encouraged the other. There was no judgment for how large or how small your text paragraph was, because some wrote reams and others do one-liners, but it was all impactful. And it was that willingness to share and tag each other in, regardless of knowing who the other person was. That community growth is infectious, to the point that we know that there's more things to come from having this creativity through you, Ekua, and the paid speaker visibility challenges, the community, and the support from you as a coach.
Oh, thank you, Sandra. That's very kind. Well, let us wrap it up there. But you know where to find me and Sandra. So please get in touch with us if you want to follow up with us. And just so everyone knows, the next Paid Speaker Visibility Challenge will be in March. So stay tuned. And stay tuned for our final live of today at 3:30. All right, everyone. Take care and see you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.